Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another beginner tutorial. Today we're going to talk about how to move more efficiently around the map in Deadlock. There's tons of stuff to learn here, so just bear with me. I promise you the game is going to feel so much better and the map is going to feel so much smaller once you get used to all the different shenanigans you can do with movement in the game. So without further ado, let's get right into the guide. And don't forget, I stream on twitch.tv/AverageJonas every single day, so if you want to learn more about the game or if you just want to hang out, why don't you stop by and say hi? All right, so the first thing you need to know about this game is that we have two types of movement speed. We have sprint speed and movement speed. The main difference between these two is that movement speed is always available to you, regardless of if you're in combat or not, whereas sprint speed is something that builds up when you're out of combat. So you'll have some items like sprint boots. It says plus 2 meters per second sprint speed. Now, this sprint speed will disappear as soon as you enter combat, so that's something to be wary of. Whereas some item like enduring speed, which is an upgrade from sprint boots, says 2 meters per second movement speed, meaning that this movement speed still happens while you're in combat. There is still a movement penalty as soon as you start shooting. That's why there are items like Fleet Foot that says removes the move speed penalty while shooting. But in general, sprint speed is for traveling around the map faster, and move speed is for when you're in combat and you want to move around during combat faster. Another benefit from having more movement speed is that by simply pressing crouch, you can actually slide. You see now, if I'm running around, I can't slide. But if I dash and crouch, I can slide. Same wise, so if I can reach a similar speed to what I had when I was dashing, I should be able to crouch and slide. See, now because my movement speed is higher, I get over that threshold where I have enough momentum to actually start sliding. So this is something to have in mind because in this game, sliding gives you infinite ammo, as you can see on the screen in the middle. So always try to slide around if you can, especially when there are these kind of slopes and stuff you can work on. But if you don't have enough speed to do it, you can always start with a dash and then slide. I also have a keyboard overlay on the right side, as you can see. So if you're uncertain about how to do certain movements, I would recommend slowing down the video to like 0.5 or 0.25 and then trying to replicate what happens. So the first thing we need to talk about is stamina. Stamina are these bars in the middle. Most heroes start with 3 stamina, with an exception of Vindicta, Bebop, Holiday, Mina, McGinnis, and Paige. That starts with 2 stamina, and Ivy starts with 4. You can use your stamina to either jump or dash, and it starts regenerating. So if you can see, I dash now, it starts slowly regenerating like that. I'm just going to buy this extra stamina just to make it easier for you guys to see what's going on. Yeah, so the main usage for stamina is that a single jump does not use stamina. But if you double jump, now it uses stamina. And same, sliding, for instance, down a slope does not use stamina at all, as you can see here. Or if you're mantling on a ledge, you also don't use stamina. Mantling, by the way, is just walking up to an object like this and holding forward and just pressing space, and it will automatically do a mantle. So yeah, dashing and double jumping is what uses stamina. So how can we use this to move around the map faster? Well, there's a few techniques you should be aware of. The most simple one is simply dash sliding. So dash sliding is the thing you're going to be doing the most because it only costs 1 stamina and it kind of propels you forward. So you simply press dash and then hold crouch after, and it makes you slide forward. This is good because you're harder to hit if you're fighting someone. It's also good because you're moving faster and you have infinite ammo while sliding. This is the absolute basic movement, and you can do 3 of them if you have 3 stamina, which most heroes have. The more advanced version of this is called the dash jump, but be careful for 2 reasons. One of them, dash jumping needs a specific timing that I'm going to show you, and 2, dash jumping requires 2 stamina. So always be wary of how much stamina you have left, and try to learn and think, when does it make sense to use 2 stamina to get a certain point, and when does it make sense to use 1? So a dash jump, you'll see it flashes blue in the middle. That's a dash jump. So whenever I dash, you notice it flashes blue for a little millisecond. That's basically the stamina bar telling you when to press your space bar to initiate a dash jump. So the dash jump gives you even more momentum than a normal dash, and you can still end up with a slide. So a pretty common type of movement when going around the map is to dash jump and then slide after like this. See how far you can get with that. And this is very useful if you're also trying to escape enemies like that. Also, there are items that can change how much stamina you have, by the way. There's an item called Stamina Mastery that actually kind of changes the rules for how you move around. First of all, you can notice it increases the air jump and dash distance, but more importantly, it also allows you to use an additional jump or dash in the air before landing. Because normally when I double jump, I can't jump again, see? Can't air jump twice. But by Stamina Mastery, not only does that give me another stamina, but now I can actually do this. So once you have Stamina Mastery, there's a bunch of different movements you can do, which are pretty interesting. I also want to mention that in this game, because this is a Source Engine game, you actually move further by moving your camera and side dashing. So instead of sliding like this and just dashing forward, let me see. Instead of doing this and dashing forward like that, you actually move further if you do this, and then you move sideways like that. So that is also something to just get used to, that whenever you have some sort of momentum, you can actually tilt your camera to one side and do a side dash and you will actually go further. So for instance, if I go here, I would do this instead. See that? Like that. It gives you more momentum and pushes you further as well. Okay, so now that we've talked about stuff that uses stamina, we're going to talk about the kind of movement that doesn't use stamina. There are two pretty simple things. Obviously, it's just sliding whenever you can, especially downhills. It's smart to slide. It increases your speed as well. There is the mantle, like this. And there's the wall jump. Now, one important thing about the mantle, by the way, that they added recently is called a mantle boost. So the mantle boost is essentially that you can hold control as you mantle and you will boost off the edge. Watch this. See, it propels you forward into a slide. Now, this is very useful because if you're just mantling like this, all your movement speed disappears. Okay, I found the most terrible spot to show you guys this. All good. How about this spot? There you go. See it. It pushes you forward into a slide, which is very useful and doesn't use any stamina whatsoever. A slightly more advanced technique that is very important to learn is wall jumping. So wall jumping is essentially just, you can notice how my character's animation changes when I enter up against the wall like that. When I jump against this wall, when she has that kind of animation, you can press jump again without using stamina, and then use your directional keys, WASD, to decide what kind of momentum you want for the wall jump. So for instance, if I run this and press it backwards, it pushes me up and backwards. See, like that? If I hold forward and do the same, it tries to propel you straight upwards. So when you have a lot of momentum, you can actually use your arrow keys to kind of decide what kind of direction you want your wall jumps to take. And this is very crucial in some situations where you're trying to get away and you don't have a lot of stamina. Let's say you're being chased here and you're coming around this corner and you want to try to get away as quickly as possible. Then you could run into this wall and jump, and then you wall jump left and you can get all the way over here. So let me show you. See? Now I got all the way up here with just one stamina. And when you're doing things like this, one thing to also have in mind is that heavy meleeing can give you extra distance in the air. So for instance, if I struggle to get to this ledge like that, you see there, with that my dash. If I do the same dash and try to heavy melee, you see how you can get further. So sometimes this is very useful if you don't have stamina. You can just end your jump with a heavy melee. Sometimes this is really useful. For instance, if you're trying to take the bridge buff from here, you can actually dash jump again, and then heavy melee to get on top of here. So the heavy melee is like a half dash, but it doesn't use stamina. So always have that in the back of your mind. If you can almost make it to a ledge, you can heavy melee when your momentum stops to reach that final kind of little boost. So next up, one thing to also have in mind here is that zip lines give you tons of momentum. Now, if you jump off the zip line with space, it doesn't really retain your momentum. And if that's what you want, then that's good. But if you crouch off a zip line by pressing control, you continue forward. And now remember what I told you earlier about side dashing. It means that this can propel you forward and give you tons of momentum. I'm going to show you guys some examples of rollouts and things I do later in this video at the very end. A few movement tricks around the map that I use. But this can be very useful if the enemies are pushing far up here. Maybe you just got killed and then you want to get back and you want to fight them as soon as possible. Then I can crouch off here and I can side dash and jump. And you can see I'm all the way up to their guardian. And if you're fully sped up with the zipline speed boosts, it can get even crazier. You can just keep on flying. So always have in mind that you have an idea of how you want to dismount from the zip lines, because this can help you a lot depending on what you need to do. At the same time, for instance, if you want to get up here, there's a vertical zip line there, but it's 10 times faster to do this. Then you can double jump, and if you need to, you can just heavy melee to get up here. If you also want to get further with movement, you can also try to find a wall jump and chain it into your dismount with zip lines. So it would look like this. I'm crouching off, dashing sideways, and then I wall jump. See there? That can also give you more unexpected angles. Also, sometimes you can use the zip line to quickly rotate. So let's say, for instance, that there's a fight happening on blue. It takes a long time to run through the jungle like this, right? And these ones are very slow too. But what you can do is you can run up here, you can crouch off and dash sideways and slide. See there? And then side dash again. Look at that. Now we're all the way over here already. There's also a more tricky version of this if you want to maintain your height, because high ground can have a lot of advantages. You just follow closely and you'll probably be able to do this, but basically you crouch off again, side dash, jump, wall jump, and now you have more elevation. So you have more control in case there's a fight happening down here. Okay, now that I've shown you all the basic stuff about movements, I want to show you a few spots and movement tricks that I use to get around the map that helps me a lot. So the first one I wanted to show you is when you come sliding down from this ramp and you're trying to either attack or disengage. You can try to slide down and then wall jump off of the wall around here. So what this does, it means that you can propel yourself over this edge here without using too much stamina, because if you do this and jump, you'll end up in a mantle animation, and that slows you down a lot. But you can do the same thing, but if you slide down and you wall jump there on the edge, you see now I got over the ledge and I didn't use more stamina. That's a very, very handy thing to do. Another thing to do is that around 5 minutes when the first bridge buff spawns, usually people are fighting to get up to this event as soon as possible. So there are more efficient ways of moving that can get you up to this event without using stamina, because sometimes, let's say you want to get to this event as soon as possible, so you use up all your stamina to get there. Like this, right? How do you get up there? Well, watch this. Wall jump, heavy melee, into mantle, boom. See that? So this is a huge advantage because it means that I can spend all my stamina to get here as soon as possible, because this actual jump requires no stamina. So you run up to this wall, you wall jump and you heavy melee and you just aim for the ledge, and then it just mantles you into this event. Just practice this for a bit and it won't be too difficult. Another one is a few different escape routes that I recommend. So like whenever you're pushing a walker, for instance, always be wary of what escape routes you can do. At the same time, if I want to push a walker, there's a few handy tricks. You've probably seen this one up here. Now this one is actually not hard to get to. You can actually just wall jump off of here and then jump again. And then suddenly you're up here. And the reason why this is good is because it gives you another angle to attack the walker from. And it makes it easier to escape, because when you get back here, look at this. See that? You just jump out, wall jump, get up here. And now when you're up here, you already have an escape plan. You know there's a vent over here, so you can take this one. Now this vent just sends you straight to the bridge buff, which is fine. But you can also go crazy here. With this vent, what I want you guys to try to do is two different things. One of them is to try to just land on the roof of nursery, because there's another jump pad back there. So we're going to do that first. So watch how I do this. I do this, and then I side dash, jump, and I just land on this one. If you want to get back to the lane as soon as possible, you can do something even cooler. So as soon as you jump on this pad here, you dash left like this, you jump, and you can get up here. And now you're back to the lane. There's a lot of smaller variations of how to do this, but essentially it's all about trying to use this wall as an extra bounce. And the same goes also if you're playing from mid and you're trying to get the bridge buff. You can also just do simple things like this. Just jump off here and you get up to these vents really fast. I highly recommend just getting used to this. If you're playing mid and you want to gank out on the side lane, there's also a vent here that is smart to use. So one way of getting out to the side lane really quickly, I'll show you a few things. Also, this is something you can practice here, by the way. So there's another zipline here where you can dismount, crouch, you dash, you wall jump, and you can easily get up here without having to get all the way down on the floor first and then having to climb back up. It saves you a lot of time. So get used to just crouching off, side dashing, and doing different sorts of these movements. Like I said, feel free to slow down the speed of the video. So if you want to get out to the side lane really quickly, here's my recommendation. You go on this jump pad, and then you side dash, and you jump, and then you can land into a slide on the roof, and you have a very good angle to instantly defend the tower super quickly without needing any extra items or anything like that. Of course, you can go down on the ground too, but it just makes things a lot slower. Also, from here and up to there, there's also the same. It's very, very smart to use a bunch of different wall jumps to get up here. You can save so much stamina. Notice how when I'm running into this wall and just pressing jump twice, it actually doesn't use stamina at all because it instantly goes into a wall jump into a mantle instead of becoming a double jump. You can also use things like this car here and wall jump off of them. So yeah, just always have in the back of your head that wall jumping does not require stamina. So if you ever need to escape someone from chasing you down, wall jumps will always give you an advantage in those situations. I'll show you one more thing that is, I'd say, pretty helpful just in general. When you come out of base, you can actually save some time by crouching here, dashing through and doing that. See, now you skip this whole turn. It's also not too hard. And you can do things like when you're farming this jungle too, crouch off, side dash, slide, and you're right into this camp. So all these kind of things are just about saving a little bit of time. Some of them are not that crazy. But it's always about like learning how to be more efficient because then the map feels smaller in general. I'm going to show you one last one over here. So it's if I want to get into the Sinner Sacrifice room here, I can crouch off here and then you gotta, see that? And then it can go straight into punching this. So yeah, that was it for my movement guide. I hope you guys learned something. I didn't want to make this too complicated because I think that there is a lot of you who need the basic knowledge of how to do all these things. And I'm sure that a lot of you will learn a lot from just practicing the few things I showed you in this video. There's also a lot more very advanced movement sources on YouTube if you want to search them up to learn more. But I think this is a very good place to start. And honestly, the stuff that is in this video is stuff I use every day. It doesn't need to be that more complicated than this. So I hope that this really helps you guys. And don't forget that I stream on twitch.tv/AverageJonas every day. And feel free to leave a comment if you have any suggestions to other guides that I should do. And don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy the content. Thank you for watching, guys.